Hi everyone, my name is Captain Carly Hetrick, and I am currently an individual reservist, previously known as an IMA, an individual mobilization augmentee, and I am attached right now to the Defense Logistics Agency distribution here in New Cumberland, Pennsylvania. I've been with DLA distribution for about a year and a half, and with them I've done a couple of different jobs. I was assigned to the J4 Transportation Policy Group, and then I was assigned as a flow officer to conduct a flipple, and now I am actually assigned to the J3 office as the ocean container team lead. I'm on orders for about 6 months to a year, and so that's been a great learning experience, and I really enjoyed learning that side of the logistics. Previously, I was a traditional reservist. I was prior enlisted about 6.5 years as a finance troop, and then commissioned as a logistics readiness officer. And I served in Pittsburgh for a couple of years, and Niagara Falls Air Reserve Station for a few years, about 6 years, I guess, there. And then I was actually assigned to the SDDC out at Scott Air Force Base. With the Army, so that was an interesting tour as well. I was there for about a year. The key takeaways that I found in the self-paced classes was in the introduction to joint operations in lesson 1, there was an article that was written titled Air Force Continue to Pursue Total Force Integration. And I really took away from that based on some of my experiences. I was deployed in the joint environment down at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba as a lieutenant back in 2011, 2012, as well as being embedded with the Army when I was assigned to SDDC, and now currently being assigned to DLA. It's primarily civilians, but I also work side by side with the Navy, Army, Marines. So the joint side of the house really hits home with me and my experiences. So a couple of things that I took from that article were that the processes and systems must support the interoperability for joint operations and total force integration to be possible. That's a huge issue. When I was assigned to SDDC, just trying to accomplish my Air Force requirements to stay ready, current and qualified to deploy, a lot of the training I had to accomplish twice because the Air Force and the Army systems did not speak to one another, and you couldn't get credit, and there was no way for anyone to give me credit for one, which I was really surprised at. Being stationed on an active Air Force base, they weren't able to change my records due to the fact that I was assigned to the Army, so obviously that is an issue. Another thing I took from that article is that I didn't realize that they were moving towards having reserve officers serve and command the active component units. In some locations, in the article it stated there was 3 reserve officers that were getting ready to be slated to command an active component unit. Typically, as a reservist, I am very familiar with seeing that on the opposite side. As a reserve unit, you are typically commanded by an active duty officer. So I think that's really interesting, and I'm really curious to see how that plays out going vice versa. And then the most critical issue for me that I think is especially relevant to the joint operations is continuing to move forward with the readiness across the board, and I think just the lag time in becoming a one enterprise in one single service. I'm not sure when or if that will happen, but that would make a huge difference in how seamless we could become an actual joint operation. Again, just trying to get someone out the door from the logistics side of the house. The requirements for an Air Force versus a sailor, a Marine, or a soldier are very different. As an example, I was actually slated to deploy this summer, and it was an Army member that was responsible for getting me out the door, and just because they happened to be new to the position, they didn't know the Air Force requirements, and they had to pull me off the deployment and put me on orders stateside. So that's an opportunity missed for not only myself, but the agency as well. So things like that, where if we had the systems talk to one another, it would make a huge difference. And focusing on the full range of military operations is critical to our success as we move forward into a world where war is not fought as much on the ground, but more so in the air, space, and cyberspace. So again, I think that in the joint operations arena, it's huge to consider across the board and standardizing readiness and having systems talk to one another, just like the article had stated in the introduction to joint operations. Thanks so much. I look forward to learning from all of you.